Oh, and I'm back. I kind of blissed out to Earth, Wind, and Fire there for a second. So I was like, "This is what I'm supposed to be doing right now." And then was turning the mic back on. So that was Earth, Wind, and Fire with Fantasy, which is just awesome. I mean, kind of whatever's bothering you, you listen to that, and then suddenly it doesn't seem so bad. So what is all this stuff that I just said last time? And someone sent me a message in between there saying what I took from that is men put out, women take in. I'm like, awesome, yeah, yeah. As long as you got that from it, really, I got nothing else to say. The rest of this is filler. No, serious. What does all this have to do with anything? How do you actually start to really apply this into your life? And the very first thing that you have to do, if there's something that you're trying to attract into your life, the very first thing is to figure out what you don't want. Yes, I said figure out what you don't want. Okay? Because I've asked people a million times, like, well, what is it that you want? And they'll say something general like, oh, I just want to be happy. Well, being happy is a choice. You can be happy right now at this exact second. In fact, let me tell you how you can be happy whenever you want. But before I tell you that, I want you to think of a time in your life that you were truly happy, that something just really awesome happened. Maybe you were at an amusement park. Maybe it was a first date. Maybe you were listening to some awesome music or just having a really great time with somebody. But think about a time that you were really, truly happy. And as you think about it, start to really put yourself back in that exact space. Where were you? Who was with you? What sounds can you hear? What scents can you smell? What can you taste in your mouth? I'm gonna give you a couple seconds just to pull that picture up into your mind as clearly and as vividly as you possibly can. Put yourself back in that memory. All right, now if you did it right, you should be feeling pretty good right now. Probably feeling that same tingle in your tummy that you felt when this was happening to you in the first place. And that's a trick that you can use to make yourself feel good at any time. It's an interesting thing with our brain chemistry. You hear things like your subconscious doesn't understand the past and the future, it only understands now. And that's true, and that's one of the reasons why this works. That if you vividly imagine a time that you felt truly happy, you will actually start to feel truly happy again. And you can do this with any emotion. If you need to feel excited, if you need to get amped up for something, if you need to basically put your A game on, this is how you do it. Think back and vividly imagine the last time it happened. So that's whenever anybody says, I just want to be happy, teach them that trick, and then you'll be their life coach. I'm outsourcing. Look at that. My gift to you. Or people will say things like, I want more money. Well, if I give you $1, you've got more money. I mean, that's not an answer. Anytime it's more of something, that's not an answer. Okay. So since most people, and this may not be you, don't really understand what it is that they want right now, everybody knows what they don't want. Okay? Everybody knows what they don't want in a relationship, what they don't want in their job, what they don't want in their finances. So the first place to start is with what you don't want. Okay? Now, once you know what you don't want, then you're in the right position to decide what you do want. If you're not exactly sure right off, then you can just take the opposite of what you don't want. Right? If you say, I don't want a guy who's mean to me, then I do want a guy who's nice to me. I don't want to work for $10 an hour. I do want to work for $40 an hour. Right? And once you start to have the clarity of that thing, then you can start to really go to work to bring this into your life. Now, I can tell you, here's a good benchmark as to whether or not you've picked the right thing. When you pick this thing that you want, do you start to feel like a little bit excited about it, right? Does it start to kind of actually, is it almost even a little bit intimidating when you first think about it? It doesn't matter if you don't know how you're going to get it. We're not even going to talk about how it's going to come right now. But do you feel like that little tingle when you even think about it? When you're like, oh my God, it would be so great if blank happened. Then you got the right thing. If when you think about it, you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind winning an Academy Award, no, then you don't have the right thing. I mean, if you'll know you'll have the right goal when it's the type of thing that keeps you up late or wakes you up early in the morning. Okay, because I can tell you right now, us being together is both keeping me up late and will get me up early tomorrow, right? So that's how you know that you're on the right track. Now, once you've settled in on that thing that's really exciting and really makes your soul sing, for lack of a better word, then you're in a position where you can start doing what it takes to bring this into your life, right? Now, this is where the law of vibration starts to come into effect. And this is when you want to start thinking about this as often as you can while staying positive about it. There's a lot of conflict and a lot of different teachers and gurus and people that wrote different books and whatever about whether or not you should constantly think about your goals or you should only basically like fire and forget. You know, you kind of put it into the universe and then totally put it out of your mind, like a seed that you plant and wait for it to sprout. And the answer to that is both. You want to think about it as much as you can without resorting to worry. If you're thinking, I really want this new car, I really want this, Mercedes-Benz, this SL65, black on black with silver chrome rims, you want to get as clear an image as possible, whatever it is. If it's a car, figure out what you want all the way down to the leather seats, to the interior. How many speakers you want the stereo to have. If it's a woman or a man, figure out intimately what it is that they're going to look like. What's their hair look like? What color their eyes? What kind of earrings does she wear? Now, when these things manifest in real life, it may or may not be that exact thing. You may get that Lamborghini, but the interior is brown instead of black. You can't be like, oh my God, this didn't work. I got my dream girl, but she's from Cleveland. She's not from New York. This didn't work. No, you still got to be flexible, but you want to be clear when you're placing your order with the universe. Does that make sense? But you don't want to get to the point that you're like, oh my God, what happened? Why haven't I gotten this job yet? What's going on? What am I doing wrong? If that's the case, put it out of your mind. You've gone too far. Because you can't let yourself start to get into the negative emotions about it. You can't start to let your mind dwell on negativity. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, I'm not being negative. I'm just being realistic. Yeah, that's something pessimists say. It's negativity. Okay? And if you think that even just a little negativity doesn't really bother anything, it's not that big of a deal if you get down every once in a while. It's not that big of a deal if you take your eye off the ball. Well, let me ask you this. Imagine we're together and we're at your favorite restaurant and we're eating your very favorite thing in the whole world. But is it steak? Is it lobster? Is it ice cream? Is it cheesecake? Whatever it is, imagine it's right there in front of you, your very favorite thing in the whole world, and it's right there in front of you. And before you can take a bite, I take out a little eyedropper, and I drop just one drop of sewage water on it. Just one. It's just a drop. Hey, I'm sure you could stir it up. You probably wouldn't even taste the fact that there was sewage water in it. Hey, would you eat it? No, no, you wouldn't, because just that drop of sewage water is enough to ruin the whole thing. Okay? Now, we're human. Everybody's going to have their ups and downs. I have my ups and downs, but like I said, my ups and downs are, instead of going between a 2 and a 6, like a lot of people go in their emotions, I go between an 8 and a 10 or a 10 and an 11. Honestly, I'm always pretty up all the time, and even my down is still way up relative to somebody else. Does that make sense? So you want to keep your eye on the ball as positively as you can. Now, here's something that I need to clarify, because a lot of times people say things, you shouldn't listen to anything like different negative music, you shouldn't watch negative movies, and that's true, except you got to clarify what negative is, right? Like I mentioned at the beginning, I like metal. I like really, really, really hard rock, and I'm not gonna play it. I know. Don't worry, I'm playing metal today, but I like really, 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 really hard rock. Okay, which some people would say is a negative vibration, but not to me. When I hear it, I feel good. When I hear it, I feel picked up. When I hear it, I feel excited and alive and energized. So for me, it's a good thing. Okay, and so that means if watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre really sets your heart on fire, which I don't know if that's good or not, but hey, if that's your thing, fine, and don't feel bad about it, okay? Go and revel and indulge in whatever makes you feel good about yourself that's not hurting anybody, not hurting anybody else, and not hurting you. If it's not hurting anybody, Good times. Enjoy it. Because you want to do things that are going to put you in that positive vibration. Because I'll let you in on another secret. That thing that you think you want, you don't actually want that thing. You want how that thing is going to make you feel. Like if you say you want money, if you say you want $1 million, you don't actually want $1 million. You want what $1 million can buy. You want the house, you want the car, you want the clothes, you want the jewelry, you want the computers and the toys, right? But even then, you don't even want those things. You want how those things are going to make you feel. How are you going to feel driving that car? How are you going to feel when people look at you? How are you going to feel when you're on that boat or on that plane or with that special someone? But remember, I already taught you how you can feel that right now. You can feel that right now by vividly imagining what it's going to be like right now. You can vividly imagine driving a car, vividly imagine having that date, and believe it or not, that is what's going to put you in the same vibration as that thing. As you vividly imagine what it's going to be like once you have the thing you want more than anything, that is what will bring it to you faster than anything. And the strange thing is that once you start really reveling in this experience and really knowing what it's like, actually having the external thing will become less important because you're already getting the feeling. And oddly enough, that's when the external thing will start to show up, right? It's like, you know how people say you always find something when you're not looking for it. You know, you find the relationship when you're like, oh, I'm not interested. You find the dream job when you stop looking. This is kind of why. When you kind of reach a point of equilibrium, a point of balance, right? Remember we talked about that. Gender. There's pluses and minuses in everything. Rhythm and polarity. There's ups and downs, and your life moves back in between them. Your goal is to try and balance it out. And when you're really balanced, that's when things start to manifest. But you kind of got to go out of balance, especially if you saw Eat, Pray, Love, you understand this. Sometimes you got to go out of balance to get in balance, right? Like right now, if you're like most people, you might be a little imbalanced towards the negative end of the spectrum, right? You might be a little embarrassed towards how much you hate your job or how much you hate your car or how much you hate your blank, right? And so you kind of got to turbocharge it by going crazy in the other direction, right? And another way that you can really do this is by gratitude. People talk about gratitude. Gratitude is also putting you in that same vibration that will help you bring things into your life. And the reason why that is, even if you want a new car, be grateful for the car you've got right now. Because I guarantee you there's somebody out there who wishes they could have it. Okay? If it's a person who's walking home in the rain every night, they would do anything to have your car. Somebody wants it. Okay? And if you're not satisfied with what you've got right now, you will never be satisfied with more. Because whatever you've got right now is probably more than you had 10 years ago. You probably make more money than you made 10 years ago. You probably live in a better house. You probably drive a better car, right? And even if you don't, there was a time that when you got that car and you got that house and you got that job, you wanted it more than anything. It was the thing you wanted so bad. You were hoping you could get a date with that girl. You were praying you could get a date with that guy. You would do anything to get that job. And you were so excited when you got the job interview, right? And look at where you are now. Now, isn't that sad to think that you might get everything that you want and still be dissatisfied? I mean, let me tell you something. I live in Los Angeles, so I see that every day. It's sad. I know Grammy Award winners. I know Emmy winners. I know Academy Award nominees that are miserable. They've got fame, they got fortune, they got money, and they can barely stand to look at themselves in the mirror. So I can tell you there's not much worse in this world than to climb the ladder of success and to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. Okay? And that can really throw you off if you let it and if you're not careful, okay? And the way around that is gratitude. Be grateful for where you are right now. Be grateful for who you are right now, even as you actively work towards changing. Does that make sense? Because you still want to have more in your life, but in order to have more, you have to be comfortable with where you are.